I was making a living in the baseball business at the time, and I was having a great time about it. My family was not ready for me to run for governor. We'd just been through one campaign, and Barbara and Jenna and Laura just were ready to go through another one. We were a young family, and wasn't appropriate. I think my mother put it pretty well when she came down to Texas, and on the front page of every Texas newspaper she said, "Georgia, you better not run for governor." And her point was that when your father is president of the United States, his actions and his deeds are going to perhaps influence the voters, or cloud the voters' vision, or influence them positively toward me. And she had a pretty good point. That's not the reason I didn't run. As I then quipped, Mother's been telling me what to do for 42 years, and I've listened to her once. But it just wasn't right. We fielded a very strong slate of candidates, the Republicans did, I thought. And my friend Clayton Williams, who got the nomination, got beat. He didn't run a very good campaign. He'd be the first to admit it, by Ann Richards. And so I don't view it as a lost opportunity. I just view it as not the right time for me to run. Am I still interested? You bet. I mean, I spend time all over our state working for the Republican Party and candidates. I went to Brownsville, Texas, to help raise money for the Cameron County Republican Party. This is deep in the heart of Democrat country. But also for my friend Tony Garza, who's a county judge in Brownsville, Texas, a young Hispanic leader who's got a tremendous future, but who needed help to raise money. And I just happened to be Nolan Ryan's boss and Barbara Bush's son, so I'm a fairly decent draw these days. And lo and behold, we raised him some pretty good cash.
Does it rule out then a chance to run in what, 94?
No, it doesn't at all. My family's older, and I'm older. George Bush will be at the end of his administration. We just have to take a look and see. Ann Richards, the verdict is still out on her. One doesn't want to go on any suicide missions. If she signs an income tax, she'll be in trouble in this state. We've never had an income tax. We don't need an income tax. And yet the lieutenant governor is pushing for an income tax, and she is yet to be heard on the issue. My judgment is that if she signs an income tax, she'll be through. And we'll see whether she can escape that or not. She also hadn't taken any lead on the education issue. And if she doesn't do that, she may be through as well. But she's had a pretty good first term in terms of not damaging herself. And she's got one more, I say term, we measure, there's 2 legislative sessions plus special sessions that our governor has to go through. And she's been through one. She'll have a special session this summer, and then she'll have one more legislative term after the '92 elections. And then we'll make the call then.
You run for any office up to now?
Yes, I ran for the United States Congress, West Texas, and came in second, 2-person field.
What year?
1978. Had a tough primary and won it by consolidating my home base of Midland County, Midland, Texas. We turned out a huge vote, whipped the guy who was from Odessa, which is the rival city, and then ran against now Republican Kent Hance, who was the conservative Democrat, popular in the district. Out-campaigned me, frankly. I raised probably more money than he did. But he was a better rural candidate than I was a better rural candidate. And since then we've become great friends, by the way. But he taught me some pretty good lessons about Texas rural politics. It's funny, after that campaign, I had a great experience. It was my first year of my marriage. So it was like kind of honeymooning on the campaign trail. Secondly, I really got to be a better person from losing, believe it or not. No one likes to lose. But I learned a lot about myself. There's nothing like a nice dose of humble pie at the age of 32 to maybe make you a better person.
What did you learn about politics?
Well, I learned that campaigning is kind of what I always knew about it, frankly, that there's a beginning and an end to it. And I really do view it as a foot race, that you pace yourself, but you don't stop. It's an incredible amount of hard work. It takes a lot of energy. And you got to keep your head about yourself. It doesn't do you any good to body slam your opponent. But you try to get a message out, and you repeat the message. And it's important to be repetitive and simple. The person who gets up there and tries to redefine the International Monetary Fund's role in world affairs to West Texas farmers is going to get about 30 seconds worth of hearing. And it's important to keep your message simple and repeat it. It's important to be decent and hard work. In terms of the governing side, I've never had that experience yet, so I can't answer. But I liked it. It's a tough life, but there's something exhilarating about it. And when you combine that with the notion of serving people and trying to make the society a better place that you care about, for example, Texas, which I really do care about, then it becomes worthwhile.
Does speaking matter? In other words, when you address a group, and how do you do it?
I'm pretty good at speaking. I mean, am I good or bad at it? Yeah, I think I'm pretty good at it. I give a lot of speeches. I think speaking is a function of knowing your topic and being comfortable as you address it to people, to be relatively calm and be matter of fact with folks, but to make your points and make them well. But that's knowing the speech and knowing the subject you're doing. I'm pretty good at it. I think more as importantly is the capacity to do what you do, which is to look into a TV camera and get a message out. Unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever your perspective is, but that's so much of a campaign is the capacity to find the person that never gets to see you in person, and in the short period of time be able to. That's a good question. I can understand the politicians in baseball part. Baseball is America. I mean, if you want to be associated with what's truly American, and you're a politician, you better get close to baseball.
Why is it American?
Well, it's America's family sport, for starters. Ours is most other pro sports, particularly the spectator sports, have priced themselves out of the reach of the American family.
What's a ticket cost to go to a Ranger game?
Well, a man like you with your salary would have to pay $13, but a family of a single mother with 2 kids under 10 years old can come to our ballpark for $8.
Total?
Total. Now, she has to ride her bicycle because parking is for, but and she can bring her own soft drinks in so long as they're not bottle or can. They're $4 tickets in the outfield, and we got, unfortunately, too many of them right now. We're underutilizing our outfield seats at $4 and at capacity for our $13 seats. That's why we're building a new stadium, by the way. But baseball is America because it's a family sport. I mean, it truly is. And you come to our park, you see Cub Scouts and Girl Scouts and brownies and kids just running all over our park, and you got grandmothers, and it really is one of our missions in baseball, by the way, is to protect that atmosphere. I mean, what we cannot have happen is drunks and thugs run loose inside our stadium offending people, because then you do lose the capacity to call yourself America's family sport. If your stadium is run over by people who have the total disregard for the kind of the safety, I don't mean necessarily physical safety, but just the environmental safety in your park. The other reason why is it's played in a park-like setting. It kind of harkens back to our past, and it's individual accomplishment for the team, individual accomplishment for the overall good, called team. And you look at Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan pitches no-hitters, but when he speaks, he says, "I did it for the team." There's nothing more American than that. Entrepreneurship for the good of the country, capitalism for the good of the country, the idea of creating jobs, someone risking capital to go out and create jobs for the other fella. That's what America has been about. I always joke and say, particularly west of the Mississippi, but entrepreneurship and job creation run hand in hand with that individual spirit of accomplishment, and that's what baseball is. You can't hide in piles of bodies or huddles. You're out there all by yourself, and so when the shortstop makes a brilliant play or an error, everybody sees you, and yet it affects the other 24 people on your roster.
But beyond the politician, you see...
the columnists, I forgot.
You got Џорџ Will and David Broder,
yeah.
And others spend, they'd rather, based on what you read, they'd rather spend time in the locker room than they would covering sports.
You bet.
I mean, covering politics.
Well, I think that's an interesting aspect of the game. The way I would describe it is it's the only game where you can have Đorđ Will sitting next to the postman, and they might be able to get along because they have a common thread, and that is discussing whether or not, I don't even know who Đorđ Will's favorite team is, but whoever his favorite team is, starting pitching, is going to get through the mighty red machine. I think that's one of the wonderful aspects of baseball, is that it can hit you at all dimensions. I can't speak for Đorđ Will because I don't follow him that closely, but I think people, for example, and perhaps this is what's captivated him, you get this sense of history in baseball. It's truly the only sport where you can take Nolan Ryan, put him on the 1927 New York Yankees, and he's a player. On the other hand, you can take Babe Ruth, and I think he could make our team. Pretty certain he could. And unlike football or basketball, where the size of the people have changed the character of the game, and it's impossible to take a 1927, Brooklyn Yankee or whatever they were called, professional football player, even if they had them in those days, and try to put them on the New York Giants. You just can't do it. So there's a historical sense. There's a sense that the statistical side of baseball is so marvelous, because you have a statistical basis in which to compare everybody on. One of the things we have to do in baseball is never let that change, is to keep the rules as constant as possible. And no aluminum bats, for example, because that would totally alter the way baseball could be measured from one era to the next. And perhaps that's what appeals to him. I think the individual nature of the game would appeal to a guy like Will, where he can, as I said, see the individuals accomplish great measure for the... And then it's a game of subtleties. It's not a game of smash-face defenses or bombs. It's a game, it's a pretty peaceful game that allows your mind to think, by the way, in between moments of action. But it's a game of subtleties. It's hit and runs. It's skillful maneuvering of the field. It's positioning of fielders. And it's some moments of high drama as well.
Let me ask you about the political